Hello, brothers and sisters. It's Mike from We Are the Saints. I have another message here from the Lord. I just finished a live service, so I think I'm just going to get right into it. I've prayed over it. I've spoken to the Lord quite a bit about this. But what I want to say is that this message was very much for me, as it is for anybody else. So when as you know, I have an ability to procrastinate. I have an ability or I have a way of just, feeling guilty or whatever. And this, coming into the Lord was no exception. I mean, I had a hard time coming into worship with the Lord with this one. I kind of knew it was coming. And I don't know. I just, the Lord has shown me before that, it's easy for us to, get into a pattern and be like, oh, it's really easy to do and just got to sit down and do it. But maybe it's because I guard my heart this way. And, I feel like this is the check that reminds me that I'm doing this for the Lord, not for me. And for my relationship with Jesus. That's why I do it, not because I want anything out of it. I don't want any, I just want people to come to the Lord. That's all I care about. I just want people to know Jesus the way I know him. And how awesome and loving and caring and how much he wants to be with you and do things for you and help you. And a lot of people don't know that. And so that's my sole motivation. So I had a really hard time coming into this one. That's basically how it started. So I basically asked the Lord when I came into prayer with him, and I asked him if he had something he wanted to say. And he's like, yeah, I do. And so I said to him, Lord, I have so many questions, but I feel unworthy to ask them or receive whatever words or messages that you have for your sheep. And he said, I know what you're up against, Mike. And my mercy knows no bounds. And that is why I wait for you every time. And I said, yes, Lord, I know that you do. I said, but you shouldn't have to. You shouldn't have to wait for even a minute. He says, this is true. He says, but nonetheless, I let you have your free will. And so when you're ready, then I come. So I said, so this, Lord, is still like a cause for my guilt that I feel, and shame that I delay coming to you. I know you want to talk and get the messages out to your people. I know that, I know you do. And he said, for now, this is the way it will be, but in the future, you will come to me much more often. You are my little dove. My son, I delight in our time, and I wait for it. And I know that when you do, I have your full attention, and that means so much to me. Which is hard for me to hear, right? So I said, I'm trying to put into practice all the things that you keep showing me and teaching me for me and your flock. And he said, my beloved, I see your heart, and I'm glad to see your improvement. We have a way to go, but Rome wasn't built in a day. And I want my flock to see your vulnerabilities too. You are my anointed, like David. You are not perfect. I picked you up from the field, and I am leading you and all my children through these messages. I'm bringing you all to holiness, my brides. I'm talking to each of you through these teachings and turning you into my bride. So I said, so I just sort of was thinking about this as he was talking. It's like, maybe it's been bothering me for a while. I don't really know. But I said, Lord, as a man, I have a hard time understanding you as like a husband, like in the marriage, as the bride. Um, I said, can you help me see this a bit more clearly? I said, I can see how women would understand this way better since you are a man. But I'm not, I'm kind of hung up on this. I don't really see this. I'm having a hard time with this. And the Lord came back and he says, you're not alone in this. He says, let me try to point you or paint you a different picture. He says, imagine yourself being together with the Holy Spirit as a female. Imagine the Holy Spirit as your wife, but now that you are married to us, look at, now you've inherited a father-in-law. He says, so try and see it as like you marry into me, and that you see me as your father-in-law, as a father-in-law relationship. He says, maybe you'll have a better understanding of how the marriage looks with us. And so I was like, okay, well, I never really thought of it that way. And I suppose I can relate better in that sense. And then I said, thank you. But I moved on. I said, Lord, I have been feeling a conviction lately that I feel you have been trying to give me. And I'm going, and I've been listening to it. And I'm sorry for not doing what it was you asked me. He says, but I am going to try a lot harder moving forward. And he said, Michael, you have been scrolling on different social media platforms for way too long. He says, I have warned you about this, have I not? And I said, yeah, Lord, you have. A lot, actually. And he said, how did you receive it? And I said, I ignored it. I didn't think that it was really necessary. And I know I was wrong by that. And he asked me, he said, he said to me, he says, why did you ignore it? He says, so at this point, when he said, why did you ignore it? He said, just go ahead and tell them why you ignore these things. So I'm just going to be honest and put it out there and just say it's because I can have selective hearing. I can be like, I can hear the Lord and I would be no problem doing what he wants me to do. And then I can hear him and be like, I'm not really sure I heard him. Maybe that was from the enemy. Maybe I should maybe look into this a bit further and ask the Lord if this really was him or not. And I know full well he knows it. And so I don't know. It's just, and maybe you feel the same way. Maybe there's sometimes, the Lord speaking to you, you're just like, not now. I can't do that right now. So now that I've told you my side, the Lord wants to tell him his side. He says, my children, you cannot afford to give the enemy a foothold. He is not for you. Everything he does will destroy you. Don't listen to him. My sweet brides, many of you have fallen for the trap of sacrifice over obedience. And what do I mean by this? What I mean is, do you need that thing for your office, which is a gadget that everyone seems to have? And what about that widget for the living room for your family and friends to see how blessed you are? Do you really need these things? I get this a lot, actually. I'm just going to stop here for a second. Now that's something I have to deal with sometimes. I know I shouldn't. And then he continued. So he says, what about that new car, that phone? Are you helping the needy? Are you giving words of encouragement to a coworker? When was the last time you took a friend to lunch or invited them for supper because you care? I say these things not to shame you, but to encourage you. Is your hearing selective? That's what the Lord said. Which I know what he was talking about. And I said, Lord, I know it's my hearing. My hearing's selective. Sometimes like a child, I just tune it out. He came back and says, I understand this very well, beloved. Or should I say, is it better to beg for forgiveness than to ask for permission? As soon as he said that, I was like, wow. Like, that's exactly what sometimes my attitude is like. It's like, I know he's going to forgive me, so I'm just going to go ahead and indulge anyway, and then I'll worry about it later. Which is not the right attitude to have. It's not, and I know it. So I said, yeah, Lord, that's me. I'm guilty of this. He continued, he said, my precious doves, you are only hurting yourselves. This is a dangerous place to be. One foot in the world is way too far for my liking. If you feel that you may be doing something that you shouldn't, then don't. I want you in the safety under my wings, not in the open where the wolves will stalk you. You cannot afford to be out of my gaze for 1 minute. It's not a game, my love. So I said, I know, Lord, I know. I know you are slow to anger and your mercy, and you are very merciful. So I think I take advantage of that. And the Lord came right back and said, you think? And I said, I know I do, Lord. I know. Sorry, let's see here. Yeah, I said, I know I do. And then he would say, how did you receive it? So, sorry, I'm trying to get my train of thought here. Sorry, I've got to turn the page, sorry. So then the Lord came back after he said that, because I knew he was very serious. He was not, there was no joking around. When he said, you think, and I said, I know I do. So he said, but how could I not forgive you, my sweet Michael? How could I not forgive all of you who have felt the conviction and have repented in your hearts? How could I not tell you the things that are not pleasing to me? You are too important to me not to discipline. My sons and daughters, obey my voice so it may go well with you. I am moving you into new territory. So remember, obedience of the heart is more important than justifying your use of the law to satisfy your own needs. Mercy is my desire for you to share. For in this you show yourselves my disciples. I know your weaknesses, I know your faults, and I know when you fail. I am there in all of it, and I will still glorify you because of it, because you trust me. I promise to use your weakness for strength. I promise to use your faults for my abilities. I promise to use your failures for my perfection, if you will only obey my voice. You know my voice, as I know yours. If you don't know my voice, only ask, and I will speak ever so tenderly to you. If you don't understand me, only ask, and I will show you my loving nature. If you want to know love, only ask, and I will be your Father, an ever so loving Father, who will hold you and sing over you and speak life into you. My children, I want you all to myself. I want to hang out with you, to talk with you, and discuss your day. Oh, I can't wait to tell you how much I miss you when you get caught up in the day's events and you are too exhausted to meet me. Or perhaps you had a really bad day and you want to be alone. And at this point, I don't say anything at all to you. I just stay close to you. I hold you and I make you feel better because I'm hurting with you. Can you see that, my precious ones? I want to encourage you to be obedient and not hear me selectively. So I remember, at this point, the Lord was like, tell them the story. So it's not really a story. You've probably all heard it before, but it's a story about how to understand when to use God's mercy, his love, and be obedient to his spirit in certain circumstances. And basically the story is a story about a man in 1943 Nazi Germany, when Germany had declared all Jews must be put in concentration camps, and they were removing them all from the cities and their homes, and they were taking them to, we know what was going to happen to them. And there were people in Germany who understood that the German government, the Nazi government, were being very nefariously unkind to them, to the Jews. And there were German people who would hide them. They would hide them in their attic. They would hide them in secret places in their homes. And the story goes like this. The German officers would go door to door, and they would tell the German citizens that if they were harboring any Jews or Hebrews, then they would be subject to jail or death. It was a very serious decree by the government back then. If they were caught, it wasn't just them, it was their whole family would be sent to prison or killed. And Germans still risked some of their lives to do that. But obedience to the government, when the government came knocking on their door, asking if they had any Jews in their house, obedience to the law, they should have said, yes, I do, and not lie. Because telling them that they didn't would have been a lie. But mercy said, you have to preserve life. You have to do these acts of mercy and compassion in the face of what you know is imminent evil. That's the kind of thinking the Lord wants people to. He wants you to remind yourself of these things. That, one of the things the Lord wants us to do is to love one another and have mercy on each other and have compassion. But if you can't understand the difference between sacrifice and obedience, or mercy, then you've got a long way to go to being obedient to God's voice. You have a long way to go. And so that's kind of where obedience starts, is being able to discern situations and realize that your spirit is being moved to do something or not do something. But you have to understand that. And if you don't have a relationship with Jesus that you fostered with a firm foundation, it's really hard for you to be able to do that. So, but the Lord also understands this. So he understands that fostering a relationship with him gets you closer to him and makes you understand his voice to hear what you should or shouldn't be doing. So anyway, that's basically the story. So I'm going to continue on here. The Lord said, your obedience can be measured by your childlike attitude. In other words, if you want more of me, and less of the world, then you will be childlike, always dependent on your father or mother, and less on your strength and knowledge. And you will be more like me. And that was the end of his message. So, Paul talks about trying to be more Christ-like. That's kind of our goal. Knowing we can't possibly be exactly like Christ, but we can certainly demonstrate in our lives who Christ is to other people, to people who don't know Jesus. But if you can't be obedient to the movement of the Holy Spirit, you're seriously hindered. And that's why the Lord wanted to kind of cover this topic about, it's not just you're going to wake up one day and you're going to do everything the Lord tells you to do. No. It's not going to happen. You're going to have to build that relationship and understand. And we're still going to make mistakes, but you're going to make fewer and fewer and fewer mistakes as you go. So yeah. So that was the message. Thank you again for helping support the ministry. Again, if you feel like helping us out, you'll see it in the homepage. You'll see a way to contribute. But again, these messages will always be free. You'll always have access. Everybody will have access to them. You don't have to pay for that. But from the bottom of my heart, from Yukai and Tanya and I, thank you very much. There's lots of people working in the background, and I want to thank them very much too. All of you, you know who you are, working on the different channels, working on the translation stuff, working in Bible studies, working in Christ for Coffee, working in the Prayer Warrior group. You know who you are. Thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. I appreciate it very much. And I hope to speak to all of you in the new year very soon. Hope we all get together. And I think I'm going to leave it at this. It's getting to the 23-minute mark now. So I hope this blessed you like it blessed me. I needed to hear this. I needed to be straightened up, as it were. I'm glad that we have a God who's willing to go out of his way to do that. So anyway, God bless you. Thank you for watching this video, and we'll see you on the next one. Shalom.